If we look at these great Kabbalists, these pillars of wisdom, Abraham, Moses, Rabbi Shimon, and the Ari, none of them wanted to disclose Kabbalah's wisdom except for Baal HaSulam. And there were many more Kabbalists in between them, Kabbalists in every generation. Yet not one of them was concerned with disclosing this wisdom to the entire world. Only Baal HaSulam, Rav Yehuda Ashlag, and Rav Kook, who was a great Kabbalist living in Israel until his passing in 1935, were anxious to promote the disclosure of the wisdom of Kabbalah. There is always a debate about whether this wisdom should be disclosed or not, and yet we see that this wisdom is already here. Although the debate continues, should it be revealed, shouldn't it be revealed, with all the opinions for and against, somehow it has begun to be disclosed, and it is opening up to people, and the world is coming to it and taking an interest in this wisdom. So we need to ask, is it right or not to share this wisdom? Here we can turn to the ancient sages, like Plato and Aristotle, who are mentioned in Rav Butrel's introduction to the Sefer Yetzirah. He says that they, too, did not wish to disclose their wisdom, be it physics, mathematics, or other disciplines. This is what they wrote, and I quote it from the introduction to the book, Pani Marot and Misparot.
Indeed, we find mysteries even in the wisdoms of secular sages of past generations. It is written in the introduction of Rav Moshe Butrel, in his interpretation to the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation, an essay in the name of Plato, who warned his disciples thus, "Do not give the wisdom to one who does not know its merit." And so warned Aristotle, "Do not give the wisdom to one who isn't worthy of it, lest it shall be robbed." And the sages interpreted that, if a sage teaches wisdom to someone who isn't virtuous toward it, he robs this wisdom and destroys it.
So we see that not only with the wisdom of Kabbalah, but in all other wisdoms, the real sages who cared for the knowledge wished to conceal it. Baal HaSulam explains to us why they wished to conceal it. If a man knows the forces of nature and how to exploit them, the question is, will he use these forces for better or for worse? And we can see with every new scientific discovery, scientists are seemingly neutral. While the knowledge itself, pure science, is the wisdom of the light, when it comes to applying it, people tend to misuse it. Then they end up regretting having used it. This is what has been happening throughout history. The development of wisdom has always been directed first towards war and destruction. If this is so, then maybe it isn't wise to disclose the wisdom. But until when? The answer, according to the sages, is when man has risen in his moral level, and in his responsibility for an understanding of what's happening, so that he can use this knowledge correctly. So far, we haven't been very successful, as world events show us every day. So, what will happen next? Today, we are destroying the world ecologically. We're in a constant state of uncertainty about the future. Weapons are being dispersed into the wrong hands all over the world. And we see nothing good coming from any development, even in medicine. In fact, no matter how hard we try to progress, we're not getting any healthier, The more we produce media and culture and education to fulfill our lives, the more depressed we're becoming. Did you know that depression is today's #1 sickness in the world? And when people are in despair, they plunge into drugs, and they kill and slaughter and go mad for lack of a better option. In other words, our development is going in the wrong direction. Baal HaSulam explained where it's all coming from. He showed us that our levels of development depend on our will to receive. That's our substance, our will to receive, which evolves continuously. However, the development of the will to receive is gradual. First, it evolves into physical desires, focusing on what the body needs. Even if people live alone, they would still want food, sex, family, and home. This is what their bodies need. So these physical desires were the first to develop during the early generations of humanity. Then came the need for wealth and money. The will to receive kept growing. Following the desire for money came the desire for honor and power. Now we see that many more people began to evolve. Those who had been focused on physical desires moved on to desires for wealth. Those with desires for wealth went on to seek honor and power, and following honor came the desire for scientific knowledge. From the Middle Ages onward, and especially since the time of the Renaissance, in our times, a desire for spirituality has begun to awaken. Every time people come into this world, they come with a greater will to receive, and with a greater ego behind that will. That's why all the teachings must be concealed, so people don't misuse them. When does the will to receive spirituality appear? After the person has completely despaired of his own development at previous levels, and has reached a state where it seems there's nothing in this world that will fulfill him. Only then does he ask, what is the purpose of my life? Why do I exist? What is the reason for this life, and for all the suffering? These questions will lead a person to question his origin. Where is my life from? These questions are from a higher plane, so to speak. This is the earthly will to receive, everything that happens to us here in this world, and from here on begins the spiritual will to receive. Now the seeker begins to ask about things beyond this world, about the reasons beyond those in this world. At this point, it is time for the wisdom of Kabbalah to be revealed. Why? Because Kabbalah will answer those questions, and when its wisdom is revealed, the revelation will improve us, support us, and correct us. Once we are corrected, we will be protected against our egos, and we won't harm ourselves. We will also understand how reality is constructed and understand the upper world. And we will know the providence and governance from the upper world over us. Only then, after the wisdom of Kabbalah is revealed, will we be permitted to open up all the other teachings and learn how incorrectly we have done everything in the past. At that point, we will certainly not harm ourselves. This is why nowadays the whole world is facing a very difficult period of crisis.